be a good night. Are we ready for the Word of God, church? If you are, will you turn to John chapter 8? John chapter 8, John's Gospel, and the 8th chapter. This year we have been focused on knowing Christ, knowing Him, and today I'm going to talk to you on the subject of knowing Him as your rock. Knowing Him as your rock. And in John chapter 8, I think it may be a good idea if I was to find John chapter 8. Where is my Bible? In John chapter 8, it says incredible story of a woman who is brought to Jesus. And this is going to take its time. A woman that is caught in an act, caught in something that she shouldn't be involved in, and she's brought to the feet of Jesus. Are we all at John chapter 8? Say, yes, Johnny. Okay, I'm at John chapter 8 as well in a second. Come on, hurry up. And it's going to be on the screen for you as well. So John chapter 8 says, Jesus went to the Mount of Olives, and it says, at dawn, he appeared again in the temple courts, where all the people gathered around him, and he sat down to teach them. The teachers of the law and the Pharisees brought in a woman caught in adultery, and they made her stand before the group and said to Jesus, Teacher, this woman was caught in the act of adultery, and in the law Moses commands us to stone such women. Now, what do you say? What do you say? They were using this question as a trap in order to have a basis for accusing him. But Jesus bent down and started to write on the ground with his finger. When they kept on questioning him, he straightened up and said to them, let any one of you who is without sin be the first to throw a stone at her. And again he stooped down and he wrote on the ground. At this, those who heard began to go away one at a time, and the older ones first, until only Jesus was left with the woman still standing there. Jesus straightened up and asked her, Woman, where are they? Where are your accusers? Has no one condemned you? No one, sir, she said. Then neither do I condemn you, Jesus declared. Go and leave your life of sin. Let me just read one more verse for you. Psalm chapter 40. In Psalm chapter 40, we read these words. It says, I waited patiently for the Lord. He turned to me. He heard my cry. He lifted me up out of the slimy pit. He lifted me up out of the pit. He lifted me up out of the mess that I was in, out of the mud, out of the mire. And he set my feet on a rock. He gave me a firm place to stand, knowing him as your rock. I don't know if you've ever got into a mess. You've ever made some wrong choices in your life that have got you into what you can only describe as a mess. Yeah, no one here can testify. We got some hands straight up there. Yeah, I already know, Anthea. I'm not going to tell anybody. Don't worry about it. It's between us. We get into these situations where it's just a complete mess. Very often, through no fault of our own, we just be stupid. That's long and short of it. We idiots. We need to make better choices in life. And some people say, I need you to pray for this, Johnny. And I'm like, you just need to make right choices. I can't pray about this. The only thing that I can really pray for is your stupidity. Apart from that, there's nothing else. You just got to start to make some wise choices in your life. Don't be walking out on me yet, okay? Stick with me. Here we have a mess. Some messes are good. Apparently, Ole's at the wheel. Ole's at the wheel. Ole Solskjaer is at the wheel. But Ole Solskjaer is standing at the side of the road with all of these wheels, and he doesn't know what to do with them because it's a mess at Manchester United. And it's fun to watch. Can I get an amen? And it's like, Fergie goes, we're going to get in Moisey. Moisey's the answer. And it turns out to be a bit of a mess. I don't think they give him enough of a chance, but it's like, we're going to fix this mess. And so Woodward goes to the Glazers, and he's like, we're going to fix this. We're going to bring in Louis van Gaal. and then they're going back again. We're going to fix this mess. We're going to bring in Jose Mourinho. And then we're going to fix this mess because we're going to bring in Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Oh, I'm going to move on, sorry. Used to love, you remember, well, you know, I had to watch all the reruns. Johnny Sims watched the originals. Stan Laurel and Oliver Hardy. That's another fine mess you've gotten me into, was the quote that everyone remembers. We get into such a mess. This woman was in a mess. This woman was in a bit of a predicament. This woman was in a bit of a messy situation. What a mess. She is caught in the act of adultery. And according to the Old Testament Jewish law, the Old Testament Jewish custom, that if you're caught in this act, then you are to be stoned to death. And so they bring this woman to Jesus. Jesus is teaching, the crowds have gathered, and in the midst of his teaching, this woman is dragged and is made to stand in front of Jesus, made to stand in front of everyone else. She was caught in adultery, Jesus. She's got to be stoned. What do you say, Jesus? What do you think on this matter? And we're told that the whole reason for this situation, the whole reason for this current mess is that it was nothing to do with her and everything to do with Jesus. Because they were wanting to trap him. They were wanting to catch him out. It's kind of crazy how that you've got this man, Jesus, who did so many amazing things. Blind eyes are open. People blind from birth, and they're being made to see. Deaf ears being made to open. People deaf all of their lives and ears popping open and they're able to hear. People tormented by demons and the demons flee and they're set in their right minds. The changes and transformations that took place in people's lives. Lazarus, after 4 days in the grave, is raised to life. And yet they still want to attack him. No matter how good you are, there will be people that will want to say something about you. I love this church. I love being a pastor in this church sometimes. I love the testimony of this church. I love the impact and the influence that we have on so many lives. I love this center that it is open 7 days a week from first thing in the morning till way late at night. That people can come in through our doors whose lives are a mess and they can find restoration and healing and redemption in this place. They can find freedom. People that were coming in feeling suicidal have left feeling on top of the world where their lives have been changed and transformed. I love this church. But there are people out there that don't like us. And no matter how good we are at what we do and the influence that we have in this community, there will be voices that will be against New Life City Church. Please, don't give them a reason to be against us. Let's continue to press forward in Christ in the calling that God has placed on this place and in the mandate that God has given this church. And no matter how good you think you are, there will be people that will want to say something. And this is what it was like in the life of Jesus. No matter how good he was and how much of a following that he had and the good things that he did, there were people that didn't like Jesus. And this whole situation was not about the woman and everything to do with Jesus. Everything to do with Jesus. They don't care about this was a cover story. The woman was actually a cover story for what was really on their hearts. Didn't care about the woman. Where was the man? What no man brought. They bring the woman. And I love Jesus' response because they're bringing her to him to catch him out. And the question is, Jesus, you know you're a Jewish rabbi, you're a teacher, so you know the law. This woman should be stoned to death. What do you say about this, Jesus? Let's get his response. The woman's standing there and in front of everyone. Everyone's got their phones out and they're like going live on Facebook. This is getting posted up tonight. Oh yeah, I know this woman. What? Yeah, knew this was happening. Everyone's got their phones up and they're all recording, and she's standing there disgraced in front of Jesus Christ. What do you say, Jesus? What do you say about that situation? I love Jesus' response. Jesus never, ever in his entire life flaps about anything. Jesus never is taken unawares. Jesus never at any point of his life thinks, what'll I do here? Yeah, Old Testament, yeah, stone it, yeah, I think I remember, yeah, stone her, yeah, you want to stone her, yeah, listen, yeah, okay, so she was caught, actually, like caught in the middle of, yeah, so okay, so who see it? Anybody see it? Any witnesses? You know what? You want to? No. I love Jesus' response. It's my prayer. I really want to be more. I really want more wisdom in my life. I want to be able to handle situations better because I'm sometimes I get myself into trouble because I just don't think before I speak sometimes, and I'm just stupid like you guys. And so she's brought to Jesus, and she's standing in front of Jesus. What do you say, Jesus? On his knees and begins to write. Not because he's buying time. Jesus is fully in control of everything. They think they're in control. We've got him here. We've got him. This is the one. Tried so many times with different questions, not because they want to learn, but because they want to catch Jesus out. And this was just another one of those moments. We've got him. He's fully in control. Even when Jesus Christ was being crucified on a cross, he was the one that was in control. When he's arrested, he's in control. When they're lying about him at his trial, he's the one in control. When he's brought before Pilate, he's the one in control. When he's being whipped and beaten by the Roman soldiers, he's the one in control. When he's carrying his cross to Calvary, he's the one in control. And as he hangs there nailed to a cross, he's the one in control. When he dies and he's put into the grave, he's still in control. Why? Because 3 days later he rose again from the dead. He is very much in control of every situation, including this one. He kneels on the ground and he begins to write. And they continue to question him. We want an answer, Jesus. We want to know what you want to say about this. What have you got to say? Some people say, listen, this is not, there's nothing biblical about this here. These are just matters of opinion that may or may not be true. But as he's writing in the ground, that he begins to write the names of the accusers. And alongside the names, the sins of the accusers. Probably run out of ground. Sometimes I think he was just like Jesus was here. 80-30 or whatever it was. Leaving his mark. He's totally in control. He's kneeling down and he's writing in the ground. They're like, Jesus, can we get an answer here? And I often think about what's going through the mind of the woman. What's she thinking? She's standing here in the middle, in front, of the accusers and of the crowds that have gathered, and I'm sure by now many others have. There would be hundreds and hundreds that are gathered around, all trying to catch a peek of what's going on. She's standing there and her life hangs in the balance because they're wanting to stone her. And I can imagine like if it was me and I'm in her place and Jesus begins to write in the ground, I'd be like, Jesus, any chance here? Get up and defend me. Defend my cause. I know I was wrong, but please don't let them stone me, Jesus. You ever be in that situation where you're calling out to God and it's like he's just writing in the ground? God, I really need you to move here. I really need you to do something about this situation. And it's like all he's doing is just writing in the ground. Even when he's writing in the ground, he's in control. He's in control. And eventually, he straightens himself up. He stands and he addresses the crowd. He addresses the accusers. It's like, okay, you want to stone her? Then, go ahead. And the woman's like, whoa, hold on a minute. 1 second, please. Jesus, no, let's think this through. You want to go ahead and do it, then go ahead and do it. But the first person that's to throw the stone is the one that has never sinned. The one that you've never sinned, then you go ahead, you lead the way. You throw the first stone. We're told that one by one from the oldest down, that they dropped their stones, they turned, they walked away. And everyone goes, till only Jesus and the woman remains. And he asks her the question, where are your accusers? Where are those that would choose to condemn you? And she's like, they've all gone. Of all the places that they could have brought this woman to, no better place than the feet of Jesus. No better place than the feet of Jesus. They could have taken her out and stoned her. They didn't need Jesus, but this was not about her. This was about him. But what a better place to be brought to than the feet of Jesus. Because Jesus' response is, neither do I condemn you. You see, at the feet of Jesus, you're brought to the feet of grace. Jesus Christ is grace personified. Someone described grace as God's riches at Christ's expense. In other words, we get something that we don't deserve. She got her freedom. Technically, she didn't deserve that because technically the law says she needs to be stoned. But because of the grace of Jesus Christ who came with a new covenant of his grace, of his mercy, sanctified in his blood, she is brought to grace. And grace says, I don't condemn you for what you have done. Let him who is without sin cast the first stone. The one person that could have thrown a stone was Jesus. The only person in that whole crowd that could have thrown a stone was Jesus Christ and would have been fully justified to do that. He chooses not to because God chooses the way of grace. And grace says, neither do I condemn you. There are people in this room and you've been living under a cloud of condemnation. Condemning yourself, allowing others to condemn you because of a choice that you made or choices that you made that ended up in a mess. And this woman in a mess was brought to the feet of Jesus. And grace says, I don't condemn you. I want to tell you today that you're not under the condemnation of Jesus Christ. That he stands before you and he says, neither do I condemn you. Watch what happens. He says to the woman, neither do I condemn you. Now go and leave your life of sin. Go and sin no more. Don't go back to it. Walk away from it. See, grace just isn't about the forgiveness of sins. Grace also empowers us to walk away from the sin that entangled us and that got us into the mess. That's why Jesus can say, go and sin no more. It wasn't a judgmental pointing finger says, now you've learned your lesson here today. Now go. Where you go. Don't do it. The way I do that with my kids. Don't do that again. Telling you now, don't do that. Your mommy, I'll tell mommy on you. That's not the way Jesus did this. It was compassionate, filled with grace. You go, leave it behind. You have my grace for the forgiveness, but you also have my grace to walk in freedom, to walk in health, to walk in wholeness. His grace is the empowerment to walk in freedom. Some people ask the question, well, can you not get saved and then you can just go back to doing whatever you want to do, because if his grace covers the sins, then can you not just do what you want to do as a Christian? My response is very simple. If you encounter the grace of Jesus Christ, you will not want to go back. You'll not want to. It'll not be in your mind. You'll realize I've been saved from that. I've been set free from that. I want to walk in freedom. And his grace is the empowerment to live for him. Psalm 40. He lifted me up. He lifted me up. He lifted me out of the pit, out of the mire, out of the mud, out of the mess, and he set my feet on a rock. He set my feet on a firm foundation. That's what he does. The rock is not stone. The rock is not. The rock is Jesus. The rock is Jesus. He is the firm foundation. In Psalm chapter 18, the psalmist writes that the Lord is my rock, my fortress, my deliverer. My God is my rock in whom I take refuge. Paul, whenever he is writing to the Corinthians, he says, I don't want you to be ignorant of the fact, brothers and sisters, that our ancestors were all under the cloud. He's talking about the children of Israel coming out of Egypt and walking through the wilderness there under the cloud, and that they all passed through the sea. Verse 2 says they were all baptized into Moses in the cloud and in the sea. They all ate of the same spiritual food and drank the same spiritual drink, and they drank from the spiritual rock that accompanied them, and that rock was Christ. He is the rock. Jesus said it this way, and with this I'm coming to a close. Jesus said it this way. In Matthew, in the Gospel of Matthew, in chapter 5 through to chapter 7, it's what's known as the Sermon on the Mount, and Jesus is teaching everybody, teaching all of these people. And he goes through all these teachings for 3 chapters, 5, 6, 7. He gets to the end of chapter 7, and how he concludes the sermon, he says, listen, anyone that hears, he's talking about a wise builder and a stupid builder. And he's saying, if you're wise, then you'll take my words that I'm teaching you, that I'm sharing with you, and you'll build your life on these words. You'll build your life on me. But if you don't, Jesus says, you're stupid. Bible uses the word foolish. Translation is stupid. Talks about no foundation, that house will sink. Whenever we look at buildings, then they are built on a sure foundation. I've got a friend who's a builder. He's a bricklayer, and he says that whenever they're building houses and that they've got to dig out the foundations, and then city council have got to come along, and then it takes maybe about 10 of them, and they've got to look into a hole and say, yep, that's okay, it's deep enough and away to go, and it's costing about 500 quid for that, and then they've got to fill up the holes, the foundations with the concrete. And then city council have got to come back, and another 500 quid, another 10 of them gathered around, yep, there's concrete in there, build away. Because foundations are important for a building. The most important aspect of a building is the foundation. What have you built your life on? What has your life been built on in all of your years? I dare say it has been experiential. That the foundations have been based on what you have experienced in this life and what has been spoken over you in this life. And for many people in these communities and in this city and in North and West Belfast, it probably hasn't been the most positive things. And Jesus wants to change that. He's standing like this woman that was brought before him. I bring you to Jesus, not so that you can be condemned, but so that you can experience his grace. You can experience his mercy. You can be set free from whatever it is that has held you bound and held you captive. And you can walk in the freedom and in his grace and in his empowerment for the rest of your life. And I can tell you, it will transform, change, revolutionize your life. I give you Jesus today, guys. I give you his grace. I give you his mercy.